homily I'm going to give today is a little bit of a sobering homily, a little reality of the things going on in western Kansas and across our diocese as well, particularly dealing with the priests and kind of where we are and the reasons why we are in the place that we are, which then will hopefully lead into an update on the Rectory project and kind of some reasonings behind and the thought process behind the purpose of the Rectory and why it is the way it is. So as you know, this summer we began having 3 priests living together here in Colby, taking care of Oakley, Angelus, and Colby, then also with me being overseeing, being the administrator of Hoxie and Seguin. Father Vincent has come down with some health issues and wants to go home to Burma to deal with the health issues and just be home, as he promised his mother that he would die back in Burma. He's not close to dying right now, but there is with what he has, it is going to progress in that direction in the next several years. So he's got years to live. That's not the issue. But he wants to be home, be with his people, and be with his family. And also then, of course, I told you about a priest in our diocese that was suspended. So we also have that gap in our diocese as well, where he was. And he's still suspended, and I don't know what the end result of that will be. And then thirdly, Father Days is having some issues, some memory issues, and so the diocese is making some efforts to help him out up in St. Francis, Bird City, and Beardsley, but it's looking like his ministry will be very limited to what he can do due to his memory. So we are in a very hard place right now in our diocese when it comes to priests. And some people say, well, can't we just get other priests from somewhere else? Well, there aren't a lot. And I know that Father Gruber is here, and he's from a different diocese. He's from Pittsburgh. But the reason that he is here is because they do have a few extra priests there, but they're still figuring out what it's going to look like in their diocese because they have consolidated a whole bunch of parishes. They went from somewhere like 120 actual parishes to 60 or 80 parishes. I can't remember the number. And so they just have priests that they aren't sure what to do with right now. And so Father Gruber, recognizing, kind of seeing the writing on the wall, that he wasn't going to be a pastor for a long time, wanted some experience in a different place, maybe eventually as a pastor. And so he knew Bishop Vinke and offered his services out here. Bishop Vinke spoke with his bishop and made an arrangement that he could be out here for a period of time. That's not going to be a forever fix. That's going to be a temporary fix for our issues right now. But why do we not have any priests? Well, I want to give you the stats from the diocese. We get this report every so often. I looked for the most recent one. I couldn't find it. This one's from 2020, but I added the information that I'm going to talk about today. So after 1975, so in 1975 we ordained 3 priests. They are all retired or semi-retired at this point. In 1976, we ordained 1 priest. So from 1976 to 1990, including 76 and 90, we ordained 4 priests. That's 15 years that we ordained 4 priests. So if you want to know why we don't have priests, that's why. We are living in that period right now. Of those priests that were ordained from that period of time, those 15 years, Father Frank Cody is still active, and Father Steve Haina is still active, but he hits retirement age next year. And so I don't know what he's going to do after that. And he's actually serving outside of our diocese right now. He's in Wichita doing hospital ministry currently, so he's not even in our diocese. So of those 4 priests, only 1 is currently serving in our diocese. From 1990 to 2000, not including 1990 because that was included in the last stat, to 2000, there's 9 priests that were ordained in those 10 years, so not too bad. One of those priests has since died, and so 8 priests are still serving. Actually, and one of those priests is retired. So 7 of those priests are still serving in our diocese. So from 1975 to 2000, so that 25-year period, we ordained 13 people, 13 men. From 2001 to 2024, so including 2001, going all the way through 2024, so last year, we ordained 24 men to the priesthood. One of those priests has since been laicized, and one of those is currently suspended. So 22 of those priests that were ordained in the last 25 years are active in ministry in our diocese. So that's our diocesan priests. Of course, you know that we have Burmese priests, Indian priests, African priests serving in our diocese as well. So those are the ones that are here. All of those priests that are Burmese or African or Indian, they're not our priests. They're here serving as missionaries here in our diocese, and will go home to their dioceses at the end of their terms, at the end of the time that they're allotted to be here. So that's the state of the priesthood in our diocese, and how many we have, and where we are at. So that's why things are the way they are. Some of you may remember, at one point here in Colby, there were 3 priests. Back in the 60s, I believe it was. There's 2 priests that served at the parish, and 1 priest that actually served at St. Thomas Hospital when we still had the Catholic hospital here. After the Catholic hospital became a public hospital, then we only had 2 priests here for a little bit, before then we went down to 1 priest. So during that period when there was 3 priests here, there was also a priest in Oakley, there was a priest in Angeles, who lived in Angeles, there's a priest that lived in Grinnell, a priest that lived in Grainfield, a priest that lived in Park. So about every 8 miles, there was a priest in Hoxie. Way back when, there was a priest that lived in Seguin. I forget when the last priest was that lived in Seguin. There was a priest that lived in Leoville. So about every 8 miles or so, there was a priest that lived near the church. And so they took care of just 1 parish. The finances were minimal. They had what they had to get by, and they made it work. So that allowed for the priests actually to have more time in their schedule to visit other priests, to have some community with other priests, and to be able to support one another during that time. As time went on, as I said, here in Colby, we went down to 1 priest here. In the mid-70s, Angeles, the priest in Angeles, actually the last priest in Angeles died in the rectory there, and then Angeles was combined with Grinnell. So Grinnell and Angeles were together until in the mid-90s sometime. Oakley remained to have their priest. Grainfield and Park went together at one point. So you can kind of get the sense there of what was happening. We had less priests of that time period where we only ordained 4, and then as there was less priests, they had more work, more hectic schedules, more things going on in their lives that allowed them less time to get together, to the point where we are today. Now, Grinnell, Grainfield, and Park are all together. Oakley, Angeles, Colby, Hoxie, and Seguin are all together. Of course, there's 3 priests here currently serving that conglomerate, and with 9 masses covering all of that, where I'm still the pastor of all of that, overseeing all the finances and stuff like that. So Father James in Park, who takes care of Park, Grainfield, and Grinnell, has 3 sets of finances to take care of, where at one point he just had 1. I have ultimately 7 sets of finances to look over now, 2 schools, 5 parishes. So it's just a whole different picture of the way that things are in our diocese currently. And so just causing more stress, and priests farther and farther apart, more work to do, less time to be able to leave their parishes and spend time together with other priests. And of course, then there with the priests from other countries, there's that cultural division that exists as well. So it's just a difficult time to be a priest. So that's just kind of the view of how things are in our diocese currently and what we're experiencing right now. If you got the register this week, of course, we had the seminarian poster in there this week. We have lots of seminarians. That's great. It takes a long time to form those guys. We will ordain 1 guy this year. We'll ordain 1 guy next year. So 1 at a time, we will get them ordained, hopefully. In a few years, I think we'll have 2. And then some of those guys, actually kind of the statistic is that of all the guys that enter seminary, only about 25% of them actually make it all the way through. So then we have to deal with the ones that discern that they're not called to be priests. So it's not 100% that those guys are all going to be ordained. So we can't count on that either. So we have to continue to fill up the diocese with seminarians, because hopefully they will remain and become priests as well. So we have to be praying for our own children, for the young men in our own parishes, to discern that vocation and to discern that God is calling them to that. And I know I'm giving a pretty bleak picture, and why would anyone want to be a part of that? Well, it's not about what's going on now. It's about what God is doing in our hearts, what God is doing in our young men's hearts to be able to fulfill the will of God. But I think one thing, one movement that's going on, not just in our diocese, about 65 dioceses across the country are looking and seeing just the health of priests, mental health, spiritual health, physical health, and recognizing that priests living alone isn't always the best idea, because there's no accountability. There's no one that they have to kind of live for, in a sense, and so they kind of turn inwards, kind of become selfish, and get caught up in their own thoughts, which can cause a lot of issues. And so a lot of these dioceses are starting to put priests together again. Some of these, like Pittsburgh, is kind of forcing guys together because they're also closing parishes. Some of these are just seeing the good of serving a group of parishes together as a group of priests, of 3 or 4 or 5 priests living together in order to serve 5, 6, 7 parishes. And just seeing that they can come together in the evenings, be able to talk about the things that happened in the parish, to talk about what's going on in the parish, what's going on in their personal lives. And just being able to share those things and the good in that camaraderie and that fraternity that they share as priests. And so as these dioceses are starting to do this, our diocese is also looking at that and saying, okay, how can we support the priests in our diocese? As we are getting less and less priests, we're having to re-envision how we do parish ministry in our diocese and how priests function in parishes. And so looking at that and seeing that, there's a draw to putting priests back together again. Are priests going to have to drive to parishes? Absolutely, that's what's happening. Father Jesse's currently driving to Oakley a lot. I'm going over there once a week to make sure I'm signing checks and things like that. When we take over Hoxie, Father Gruber will go to Hoxie. I'll still have to go to Hoxie and sign checks and things like that, just to do the administration of those things. Then we'll rotate every once in a while so that I'm also in those parishes saying Mass. And they'll be here saying Mass sometimes as well. And so just working together in order to fulfill the duties and to be able to continue the ministry in each of these parishes. But also then having a common place that we can come back to. One thing that I insisted upon when Father Jesse and Father Gruber moved in is that we pray our morning prayer together every single day. And so we do that. I give an allotment on Saturdays and on their day off. You can sleep in on your day off, and on Saturdays have a little later start. But the rest of the days we get up, we pray together. One day a week we eat a meal together, so we can actually look at each other and be able to share that life together. Other times, because of our schedules, we're often just kind of passing each other in the hallways, and so just a lot going on. But the good in living together, having the opportunities to share that life together, is driving us to build a rectory that allows for those things to happen. Our diocese is divided into what's called 4 deaneries. There's the East Deanery, the East Central Deanery, the West Central Deanery, and the West Deanery. We, of course, are in the West Deanery. What that means is that there's a priest that's kind of assigned to that area to be the representative for the priest in that area when there's a meeting called a priest council or a presbyteral council meeting at the diocese. So there's a priest that is chosen from that area in order to represent them at those meetings and be their spokesperson at the diocese when those meetings happen. So we are the center of the West Deanery. And so from Colby, we can serve actually quite a few parishes. And with priests living together in one place, there's an opportunity to do those sorts of things, to build up that opportunity, to build up the priests who are living there, giving them the opportunity to share life with each other, being able to pray together, being able to have a common life of some sort together, while also giving them the opportunity to be themselves as well, and having a place to relax, having a place to go to in order to re-energize themselves. I don't know if you know this, but most priests are actually introverts. Kind of an interesting, if you were to poll most of the priests in America, at least in America, most of them are probably introverts. And I know that the three of us here in Colby, I think we're all introverts. And so we all kind of need that time away from each other, that time away from the duties of the parish to be able to re-energize and to be able to come back and be more fruitful in our ministry. So the thing about this rectory that we want to build, there's been 3 others in the diocese that are built like it. It's a very similar footprint. But there's one built at St. Thomas More in Manhattan in around 2018, I think it was. They built it for $650,000. In St. Isidore's in Manhattan, they built one, similar footprint, that was about $750,000. They're currently building one in Hayes. You can actually go see it, Immaculate Heart of Mary in Hayes. Similar footprint. It's costing there currently at $900,000. So you can just see how the costs have just blown up. And they're not anything fancy. They're not putting in gold-plated toilets or anything like that. It's just a normal house, normal floors, normal cabinets and things like that. There's a few extra things that they're doing that you wouldn't do in a normal home. But each priest has a bedroom and a sitting room and a bathroom, so they can get away, they can have their space, but also then be able to come out and have some common life together out in a community room as well. And kind of the goal of all of this is to be able to create a space that all the priests in the deanery can come together every so often, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, have a meal together. The meal that we have once a week together as the priests here in Colby, and we do that, but we want to invite other priests into that and be able to have that community, giving them an opportunity to share a common life as well, to build them up and to encourage them along the way as well. One of the things that often isn't talked about is the mental health of priests. And this is a hard topic to talk about. The priest that's currently suspended, he went away for mental health treatment for 6-8 weeks or whatever, came back, and obviously things went awry again. And so I truly believe that if he would have been in a situation where he was living with another priest, had some accountability, I think the issues he had wouldn't have happened. Not 100% certain, I mean, things happen, but I think it would have been a help to prevent that. Also, in the last year, there's 3 priest suicides that I learned of. One of them happened in a parish that a friend of mine is at. Their family was good friends with them. It rocked their family, and the whole parish just kind of destroyed the parish in many ways. And they're still struggling, trying to pick up the pieces from that. I believe that if they were living in community, if they were living with other priests, there was an opportunity to have that accountability to be able to share their struggles with one another. We all need some form of community in our life. We need that building up of one another, and that's the thing that we're trying to do here in Colby, trying to build priests up, to give an opportunity for young men to see that there's a joy in the priesthood, that there's a camaraderie in the priesthood, that they want to desire to be a part of this great camaraderie, this great fraternity that exists in the priesthood. And so yeah, is it expensive? It is. I can't control the prices. Did we set out to build a rectory of this cost? Absolutely not. I'll be honest, we were trying to be as low as possible, but we were gauging our numbers off of those numbers of the St. Isidore's rectory that was built in 23, hoping, okay, that's kind of our price point. Well, we got the bids back, and they were way beyond that. They're more like the bids of the house in Hayes. So that's kind of where we're at. We're doing our best to try and bring the prices down, cutting some things, trying to hold together the main body of the house, some of the extras that were in the house, cutting those out, some little niceties that were going to be in the priest suites and things like that we're just going to have to cut out in order to bring the price point down. So doing our best, working on that between our building committee and our finance committee. Grateful for them and the work that they've done on this project, and hopefully in the near future we'll be able to break ground. Don't have a day that we're going to break ground yet, but we're headed in that direction, and it's good news for us in Colby. And finally, why Colby? Why are we the ones footing the bill for this? Well, because all the priests that are living here that have to travel, those parishes that don't have a priest living there have to pay their mileage. And so there's a bigger bill that they're footing, not an initial cost, but a long-term cost of priests traveling to those other parishes. And so they're having to do that. So are they suffering because of that? Yeah. So we're picking up the cost on our end. It's an upfront cost that spreads itself over. Hopefully this house can last for 100, 150 years. And so that we build a good, solid place for the priest to serve the parishioners for a long time to come, so that it's just a great place that priests want to come to, whether they're passing through or just need a place to take a break, that we can build a place so that they can sit in the swimming pool. We're not building a swimming pool, I'm joking. That is a joke. I shouldn't joke about that. We're not doing that. But just a place, a comfortable place that priests can come to. We can share life together and build one another up and be able to send each other back out into our parishes to do the work that God is calling us to do. So thanks for your support of all of this so far. The good news about this is, probably a very important part, is that you can go look at our finances in the August 17th bulletin. We published everything for our parish. We have the money to do it. We don't actually have to do a fundraising campaign to do this. That's the good news. And even if we spend $900,000 on the house, there's plenty of money. It's still in savings that it's not going to break us. It's not going to put us in the red. We'll still have a year and a half or so of money in the bank that will support us to be able to pay salaries if something goes really bad. So there's the good news about that. And so it's just, that's the generosity of you guys over the years that have been able for us to build up that savings. I know there was a time in the parish when that savings didn't exist. And so I'm very well aware of that. I'm not trying to break the parish, but we also have to look at what's going on in the diocese, look at what's going on in the world, look at what's going on in priests and in their lives, and doing our best to support them, providing a place for them that they feel supported, that they feel the backing of their parishioners and the backing of those they serve. And so I believe that we're headed in the right direction. I believe that this will be a good thing for priests, for our diocese, for years to come.